Michael Carneal, a 14-year-old freshman in 1997, opened fire with a stolen pistol on a before-school prayer group in the lobby of Heath High School near Paducah. He received a life sentence with the possibility of parole after 25 years, which was the maximum penalty permissible for someone his age at the time.
Mr. Carneal, can you see and hear us? I entered my vote on September the 20th as well as a serve-out. It will remain the same today.
On December 1st, 1997, Carneal wrapped a shotgun and a rifle in a blanket, bringing them to school while pretending they were part of an art project. Upon arriving, he inserted earplugs, retrieved a pistol from his bag, and rapidly fired 10 rounds at a group of students in a youth prayer gathering. 3 girls lost their lives while 5 other students sustained injuries. After the shooting, Carneal voluntarily dropped the gun, placed it on the ground, and surrendered to the school principal. Following his arrest, he reportedly said, "Kill me, please. I can't believe I did that." In a later interview, Carneal expressed remorse for his actions, admitting that at the time, he had been thinking only of himself. He stated that there was no straightforward explanation for his actions, but mentioned that he was experiencing delusions and paranoia at the time.
I don't remember firing the gun or how many times I fired it. The next thing I remember is people laying on the ground.
He stated that the therapy and medication he received in prison had helped stabilize his mental health. On September 26, 2022, the parole board unanimously rejected Carneal's request for parole, ordering him to serve his full sentence, meaning he will remain in prison for the rest of his life. Nicholas Cruz, the teenager who admitted to killing 17 people at a Florida high school.
At that time, I didn't know. I just felt like one shot, but I got 5 times.
Where were you shot?
My other leg and the back and over here.
Told investigators that he heard voices in his head commanding him to burn, kill, and destroy. He also revealed that he had attempted but failed to take his own life just 2 months before the massacre. This information comes from a recently released transcript of his first formal interview with authorities. Cruz, 19, faces 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder for the attack on Marjorie Stoneman, Douglas High School in Parkland, on Valentine's Day. His attorney stated that he was willing to plead guilty to avoid the death penalty, but prosecutors rejected the offer. Under Florida law, any statements considered a confession must be withheld from public release until the trial.
Count 6 of the indictment for the murder in the first degree of Alyssa, the court imposes a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole.
As a result, large portions of the transcript from his interview with a Broward County Sheriff's detective have been redacted. Previously released school and government records revealed that Cruz was diagnosed as developmentally delayed at the age of 3 and had a history of disciplinary issues dating back to middle school. During the interview, he mentioned heavy marijuana use and taking a large amount of prescription medication. He also stated that this was not his first suicide attempt. At times, he appeared unable to recall basic details, such as the city he was born in or the name of the friend he had been temporarily staying with, though he repeatedly asked whether the friend was okay. When the detective offered him water, Cruz refused multiple times, at one point saying, "I don't deserve it." His lawyers strongly opposed the release of the transcript, arguing that it could influence potential jurors, but they did not object when a judge overruled them last month. Nathaniel Brazil grew up in a home plagued by domestic abuse and alcoholism, with local police frequently responding to incidents at the Brazil residence.
I was holding the gun in my hand. My finger was on the trigger. I was holding it with both hands, and that's when the gun went off.
Who pulled the trigger?
I did.
Show us how it can go off unintentionally.
What do you mean?
On May 26, 2000, the last day of school before summer break, 13-year-old Brazil was sent home early for throwing a water balloon. Later, he returned with a stolen gun, taken from a family friend, and entered Barry Grunau's English arts classroom, demanding to speak with 2 female classmates. When Grunau refused, Brazil shot him at point-blank range in the face, watching as he died outside the classroom door. After the shooting, Brazil fled, with witnesses testifying that he pointed the gun at a teacher while escaping. During his trial, he claimed he never intended to pull the trigger. He was sentenced to a term ranging from 25 years to life in prison. Thomas T.J. Lane made headlines both locally and nationally with his shocking courtroom behavior during sentencing, raising questions about why the teenage school shooter was allowed to make such a final act of defiance. Lane used his sentencing in Judge David Furry's Geauga County courtroom as an opportunity to make obscene gestures and address the families of his victims. At one point, he casually unbuttoned his dress shirt, revealing an undershirt with the word killer written across it in marker. The court's bailiff later told the press that Judge Furry had not noticed the shirt in the packed courtroom. Otherwise, he would have immediately halted the proceedings and ordered Lane to put his dress shirt back on. On February 27, 2012, Lane entered Chardon High School armed with a .22 caliber handgun and opened fire, killing 16-year-old Daniel Parmertor, 17-year-old Russell King Jr., and 16-year-old Demetrius Hewlin, while also injuring Nick Walsack.
It's true that your counsel has advised against this course. Yes. You, of your own free and voluntary will, wish to reject that advice. Yes.
Joy Rickers and Nate Muller, both teenagers at the time, were also affected by the shooting. Ashtabula County Sheriff William Johnson noted that courtroom and jail protocols vary from county to county, but had Lane been in an Ashtabula County courtroom, he would not have been able to remove his clothing during the trial. Johnson explained that during criminal proceedings, defendants wear civilian clothing and enter the courtroom uncuffed. Recently appointed Western County Court Judge David Schroeder stated that he understood Judge Furry's decision to allow Lane to wear civilian clothing. Schroeder explained that defendants in trials or legal proceedings have the right to wear regular clothing to avoid appearing incarcerated in front of a jury. Although Lane was only 17 at the time of the shooting, he was tried as an adult. However, state law prohibited him from receiving the death penalty due to his age. Lane was convicted on 3 counts of aggravated murder, 2 counts of attempted aggravated murder, and felonious assault. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole, though state law grants him an automatic appeal. Sky Bush. Sky Bush, a Crystal River man who admitted to firing a gunshot through a door and injuring a student at Forest High School, pleaded no contest to his charges and was sentenced to 30 years in prison. Bush, now 22 years old, was taken into custody on April 20th, 2018, after law enforcement reported that he had entered the school premises and fired a shot that went through a classroom door. The shot struck a student in the foot, causing an injury. A teacher managed to persuade Bush to enter a nearby classroom, where he complied before being detained by law enforcement. Wearing a red jumpsuit and appearing via Zoom from the Marion County Jail, Sky Bush was sentenced by Circuit Judge Lisa Herndon. His 30-year prison term will be followed by an additional 30 years of probation. His charges include discharging a firearm on school property, possession of a short-barreled gun, and burglary of a structure with a firearm. Bush is required to serve a minimum mandatory sentence of 25 years in prison. Additionally, he must pay restitution exceeding $14,000 and is prohibited from contacting the victim, visiting any public schools, or owning any weapons. He is also required to undergo a mental health evaluation and is not eligible for early termination of his probation. At the sentencing, Bush's grandmother, Linda Costello, was present and told the court that her grandson is remorseful for his actions.